of me remember what I thought of it. And after rewatching it, one thing I appreciate about this movie is that it's definitely not a Shrek movie. Despite being a spin-off, it's completely totally distinct from the Shrek trilogy, and it never once feels like I'm watching a Shrek movie. The downside is that this movie is nowhere near as good as the Shrek trilogy. Whereas Shrek subverts the fairy tale genre, Puss in Boots plays it completely straight. It's basically just a Jack and the Beanstalk Humpty Dumpty mashup adaptation, and it really doesn't do anything particularly special. My favorite part of the movie is this extended flashback scene where we see Puss and Humpty's childhood and what caused them to split apart. But it ends up taking up so much time that the actual quest itself feels really short and underwhelming. I would have loved a DreamWorks take on an Indiana Jones or Uncharted-like story, but the quest is over before it really gets interesting. It's also a shockingly unfunny movie. Like, the first three Shrek movies have so many good laughs, but I can't remember anything that's humorous from this film. I like the ultimate resolution of Puss and Humpty's relationship, and it makes the climax pretty interesting. But aside from that, it's just an aggressively okay movie. Nothing here is bad, but nothing is done particularly well either. Dare I say it, Puss in Boots is honestly just a movie that exists. Although Puss does refer to himself as the furry lover multiple times, so that's something I suppose. I must be out of my goddamn mind, because I honestly kind of like Madagascar 3 on the most recent view, and that's insane. I crashed this movie pretty hard in my Madagascar video, but truth be told, it's not that bad on rewatch. The main characters outside of Alex are still pretty pointless, but I kind of like the side characters and their stories. The action during the climax is pretty exciting and on par with the great car chase in the beginning. The humor isn't quite as Illumination-esque as I remember. I think the real problem is the character design on the humor. It's pretty awful and just screams Illumination, but the jokes aren't as terrible as I remember. They're not that good though. This is still the least funny Madagascar, and it's still a tedious liar of guilt story, and the circus plot is really contrived and lame. And why did they abandon Alex's family and never address what happened to them? It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. It's still not a very good movie, but honestly, there's a lot to like here to balance out all the stuff I don't. I regret not seeing that stuff sooner, but whatever. Madagascar 3 is also officially a movie that exists. Congratulations. That doesn't mean I'm gonna force myself to watch it when I marathon all of Noah Baumbach's films. He didn't direct this one, so it doesn't count. Noah Baumbach co-writing Madagascar movie is a fucking insane fact of life. But I guess it's not as insane as Martin Scorsese appearing in Shark Tale, so I don't even know what my point is. Let's move on. Madagascar the First came out right after Shrek 2 and Shark Tale, and it's pretty much the exact midpoint between the former's greatness and the latter's shittiness. It's got a ton of really funny stuff and a ton of not great stuff. Honestly, in hindsight, it's kind of ridiculous that this gigantic franchise spawned from this movie. Like, I never could have imagined it if I didn't look through it, because this movie is really nothing special. I honestly don't have much to say about it that I didn't say in my original bit about the trilogy. It's a perfectly adequate, sometimes extremely funny movie that I'm pretty nostalgic for, but it's not really that great, so whatever. The only thing I have left to say is that comedy peaked when Melvin said, "Guys, we're running out of time," with a clock stuck to his head. Look at that. Comedy gold.
Wait a minute, accidents can happen. Dad, we're not going to cover chicken.
There is so much to love about Chicken Run. The animation is stunning. Honestly, this movie is what made me realize that stop-motion animation is the most timeless form of animation out there. This film still looks amazing 20 years later. The characters are also really endearing and likable. I enjoy their interactions and designs and jokes and such. The climax is a ton of fun, and is it me or did the Madagascar movie steal a lot from the same stuff in this movie? It's eerily similar in a lot of areas, but yeah, I guess it really is a plagiarism if you're doing it to yourself. Even though technically Arjun made this film, but that's not worried about it. So yeah, I really love just about everything in this movie, except the story. I found that incredibly tedious and uninteresting. Oh boy, the rooster needs to teach them how to fly, but he can't fly, so he leaves, and then they formulate this elaborate plan to build a plane and escape. But hey, wait a minute, why couldn't the movie have just been about building this plane? Why did we have to waste most of the movie on the Mel Gibson rooster giving flying lessons? It ultimately feels really disconnected from the climax. Like, am I missing
Why
something?
did I have to
So yeah, Chicken Run looks amazing and has great characters, but I really don't feel like sitting through the rest of it
second time. It had everything but an interesting story. It was on the verge of greatness. It was this close. Also, are we just not going to talk about the fact that Mr. Tweety murders his wife at the end?
Our world doesn't deserve you. Yet.
For the most part, every single video I've made